All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna start in about 2 to 3 minutes. Just gonna let a few more people join. Just give some time for people to join in. So just I'll start in a few minutes. All righty. I think let's get started. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Adon Ordonez. I am the founder slash CEO of LawBandit. Um, the way that I want this, can can everybody hear me? Can somebody put like a thumbs up? I need to make sure that people can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Um, the way that I want this kind of webinar to go, I'm just gonna explain some of the methods and some of the concepts that I learned last year as a 1L, and how I outlined. I used AI for all of 1L, and it helped me quite a bit. So, I wanted to share that. But yeah, I'm gonna just go through a little slideshow, and then at the end I'll take questions, and I'll go back and forth between this presentation, and I have another just a few tabs open with a few different AI tools that I use. But all right, let's get started. So, okay, just a little bit of background about myself and about Law Bandit. So I am a current 2L at University of Chicago Law School. I actually transferred in this year. I went to University of Miami Law School last year, and when I started law school, I had no legal experience. My family, none of them are in the law. Let me take this off. Sorry, I'm not sure how to take this off, so I'm just gonna leave it there. But anyways, so I have no legal background. I did not know anything about the law. I came into law school blind. I had a little bit of programming experience, and so when I started law school, I was pretty lost. I didn't know, like it felt like my professors were talking a foreign language. Um, and I didn't know what I was doing really. And I also hadn't been in school in about 4 years. So I graduated undergrad, I worked for a little bit, and then I went back to law school. So I had no idea what I was doing. I was not a good student in undergrad. I was an athlete. I did not care about school, to be honest. But I wanted to take law school seriously, and I wanted to do well. And a big part of your outcomes in law school, well, first is usually, what school you go to. And if you don't go to super highly ranked school, then it's about your grades and how well you do. And so I knew that, Miami's a great school. It's not the highest ranked. I knew that I had to do well to have good outcomes, at least at the beginning, to get my foot in the door. So what I did is I was like, okay, how can I study better? And at first I was like, okay, ChatGPT exists. So I tried to use it for my daily studying. If I didn't understand something, I would either go to Google or I would go to ChatGPT. But what I realized was that I just kept going back and forth, and it just wasn't really tailored in a way that I could access it easily during class. So I started building like a very simple app for myself to just take notes in with another window to ask ChatGPT questions. And eventually it turned into LawBandit. And that's what I use today. It helped me last year. I ended up ranking sixth in my class. I got very good grades, and I tried hard, but I also used the correct tools. And so this webinar is not about LawBandit at all. Actually, I want to keep it to a minimum on how much I even mention it. I just wanted it to be almost like in Miami, we had these things called Dean's Fellow sessions where people that got good grades in the class the year before would talk about, how to do well on the exam. So I would want this to be almost like a Dean's Fellow session. Um, and so the concept that I want to go over is how can we leverage AI tools to improve our scores on exams for law school. So on one end, this talk is very geared towards 1L students, because as a 1L, grades are probably the most important thing. Uh, Once you're a 2L, 3L, it doesn't matter as much, especially if you have your summer locked up, but it's still good to make your life easier. I am a lot less stressed now than I was last year because I can study more efficiently and I can understand cases quicker than I did when I first started law school. I think all of us on this call have had that feeling when we read a case and, sorry for my language, be like what the F did I just read? Like what is this? What is this thing that I just read? And so I think AI can really speed up that process. And aside from that, I think once we get into practice, I think we are our generation will be one of the first where the AI is going to be sort of like the internet. Like there was a time when lawyers didn't use Westlaw or Lexis and they had to go to the library to look at cases. I think that's kind of how AI is now. It's how those, Lexis or Westlaw were at first, where it was kind of like taboo, like, oh, like, are you sure that's accurate? Um, I think we will be the first to adopt it, and I think we're going to be the first to kind of pioneer this technology into practice and use it effectively. I know we see, excuse me, I know we see a lot of in the news like hallucinations and a lot of issues with, I mean, even judges are getting sanctioned by it because their clerks are putting, a fake AI citations within the text. But I think a lot of these practicing lawyers or judges or clerks, they were not really trained to use AI how we were. And so one of my goals with Law Bandit is to prepare students to use AI effectively. And that's, I mean, it all kind of starts with how you prep for your law school classes. It is in essence, sort of like a research that you would do in practice. You're like researching cases, you're understanding what they mean, and you're applying them to whatever course you're taking. So, all right. So my things about like I'm gonna kind of go off of the slides and just rant about them a little bit. So for me, I think AI is best right now, like these large language models, OpenAI, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini for Google. They're very good at organizing and compressing information. And so the way that I think about AI, I spend a lot of time with AI and building apps with AI and just studying it. The best way that I like the most simple way that I could explain how these large language models work is like autocomplete on your iPhone. Like it kind of guesses what you're gonna say next. But it does this on a tremendously massive scale. It's trained on a lot of different, it's like billions or trillions of parameters that it's trained on. And so I'm not going to go into the technical side here, but it's like autocomplete on steroids. And so we as lawyers and as students, we need to recognize that and know that that's a limitation. It's good, it works well, but it's a limitation because at the end of the day, it's just going to complete your sentence or your paragraph or your paper. And so when we're creating an outline or when we're briefing a case, we have to understand this and give it the correct context, which in most cases is a prompt. For those that don't know what a prompt is, it's literally what you type into the chat box when you type, when you ask ChatGPT a question. I'm assuming if you're on this call, you're at least AI curious and you've probably been and used one of these large language models. But yeah, it's really good at organizing and compressing information. Not very good at math. Not very good at. I saw a post the other day on LinkedIn. Somebody said like, I asked how many R's are in strawberry, and it didn't give me the wrong answer. So yes, it is because it's not trained on that. It's just trained to complete like whatever's next. So I'm not. There's a lot of complicated math involved in it, but yeah, organizing, compressing information, know the limitations, and you'll be good. Second thing is that AI like is not really gonna read or think for you. It can just speed up the process. So, I mean, a good example is like, okay, I just read a 20-page case. I have no idea what the reasoning was. I just read it. I don't want to go back and reread it because I have class in 15 minutes. A good way to use AI is to, okay, throw the case into the AI system and ask it what the reasoning was behind the case and understand it more, and then ask it follow-up questions. But you're still gonna have to read. I think there are some of my classmates, I think last year they would just take the case or it's like the equivalent of Quimbying it. Like if you Quimby it, yeah, you'll get like the bullet point information, but you're not gonna really understand. I think one of my classmates, we were talking about it last week, you're not gonna understand what the judge was saying, what he meant, or they or she meant. Um, so it's good to read first and then understand like what the case is saying. I've seen people also start with the AI analysis and say like, "Hey, brief this case for me." They read it and then they go and read the case. I've done that before. I'm not a huge fan of it. I feel like I don't pay attention as much to the case when I do that, but for some people it works. The student did very well too. Um, but again, you should still read. You should still practice for your exams like any other regular student would. This is just gonna like supercharge it because not everybody's doing this, like a supplement on top of what you're already doing. And lastly, you can't cheat at law school like with AI. I mean, you're gonna sit down and take a 4-hour exam, and you're gonna have to read a scenario and you're gonna have to write about it. And AI is not gonna be there with you. And it doesn't matter how good your outline is. If you don't read, if you haven't practiced prior, you're not gonna do well. Like it's not gonna save you. And I think that's a good thing because I think that makes us valuable as people and as lawyers and as law students because we learn how to think for ourselves, but we're using these tools sort of how we would use the internet. So those are like my three things. Like before you start using AI, like I think these are just like the three most important things to start off with. So okay, when I'm gonna move kind of more into the technical side on how to actually use these systems. You want to start when when you're giving AI information, you want to start with like already a good set of we call it like prompt or context, but in the law school setting, you want to have good notes. And you could create your notes with AI, but you want to structure them in the way that you need to structure them. So if you're in a class where it's more rule based, that's what's more important. Like let's say civil procedure, you have a lot of rules, and really the facts of the case aren't as important. The class itself isn't fact intensive, and you want to focus more on the rule, then you should take notes that are focusing more on the rule. And if you want to take your own notes and then feed them to AI and then say, hey, let's focus on the rule. Give me a case brief that's focused on this rule. You're gonna get a better output. Um, and you could combine it with your notes. I think one thing that I like to do is I will read, take my own handwritten notes or bullet points, and then supplement it with AI, see what AI says, and then make it better. Make my notes better. Or just copy and paste like information that's very good. Um, and so, I mean, this is just like it's very like note taking is very personal. So, I like to include the facts. I could just like a regular case brief. But I will say to when you're talking like an outline and studying for finals, like your outline is going to be a product of your class notes, and your out of class notes when you're reading. So if you have shitty notes, sorry, if you have if you have bad notes when you're in class and you have bad notes when you're reading, like again, you're not gonna have good AI output just based on like feeding it the case because you're not gonna understand it. Okay, and I'm gonna show like actually how to do a lot of this stuff. But step two is like to prepare your notes for AI. You want to group your notes by topic or by doctrine. I think a big mistake that people do is that they'll give AI everything and they'll expect it to output exactly what they want based on one like prompt saying like, "Hey, brief this," and they'll feed it the whole case, and then they'll be like, "Oh, this output sucks. I'm not using AI again." Like, first off, like these large language models have what's called a context window, so they can only take in so much text. And after they hit that context window, what they start doing is they start chunking your text. That what that means is like, let's say you put a 20-page paper in there or a 20-page case, and you're like, hey, brief this case. Yeah, ChatGPT is gonna take all of the text, but it's not gonna read every single word. What it's gonna do is it's gonna go like, let's say it chunks it into 3 pages. So it's gonna say, okay, what was the summary of these 3 pages? What was the summary of these 3 pages? And it'll go on and on until it hits 20. So instead of having 20 pages, it might have 5 pages that it's condensed it into, and that's what it's gonna take and give your answer based off of. Context windows are getting better. Like before, they were not very good, but now they're pretty. I mean, you could put like a 50-page paper in ChatGPT and it'll take it in. But again, it's gonna chunk it and summarize it. So what you want to do is especially when you're like creating an outline or creating study material with AI, is that you want to just be very specific. Like, okay, maybe not case by case, but I would do it like concept by concept. So like, let's say in antitrust right now, we're going over mergers in my antitrust class. I would want to take everything that's about mergers. Maybe it's like 3 classes worth of notes. And then I'm going to output my study materials based off of that. Instead of just being like, hey, here's my whole 30 pages of antitrust notes. Please, set it up like it's just not going to happen. It's technology's not there yet. Maybe it will get there at some point. But as far as like right now, if you want to do one of your finals, in December, I would do it very, topic or doctrine based. Another thing that is important when you're preparing your notes to run them through AI is to label them. So if it's a case or like cases, like you want to have the header like, hey, cases. Um, think about it as if you had like an assistant for like if your like little brother or little sister was helping you like with your outline, and you're telling them to like, just take the important parts from it. Like, how would you want them to find the information? Would you want it to just be scattered, or would you want it to be like, hey, here's the cases, here's the statutes, here's the concepts, and then finally, you want to just feed it one section at a time. So, okay, I'm going to do like a little, like a kind of like a demo here. So just to show this part off. So one section at a time. So what I'm gonna do, I have ChatGPT open here. Can somebody confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Let me take this off. I don't know why this is here. Um, I'm not sure how to take this off. Sorry, we're gonna have this friend here for the call. All right. So what I'm going to do, I have my notes here. Let's say antitrust, and I'm going to go to my antitrust class 5 notes, right? And so maybe I want to get like a good something that I can put into my outline. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't go and do, okay, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5. Like I wouldn't just go and copy and paste all of them into ChatGPT. Like I would literally just go, okay, I want to do class 4. So I'm going to copy and paste class 4 into here. Okay. And oh, it took it from, okay. So I'm gonna copy and paste class 4. This little starting soon thing is annoying. I'm not quite sure like how to summarize it. Okay. So and then what I also have is I have some prompts that I've pre-written, right? So like for example, this one I wrote this one for outlines. So okay, can you summarize all the rules, cases? I just wrote like a very it's just what I need. So I mean, I'm not gonna read it off all the way, but basically like take all the rules, the concepts, the cases that are in here, and then create like something that I could copy and paste into my outline. So I'm gonna paste that in there, and I am going to put it on there. And I think there's something wrong here with the copy and paste because it's not supposed to come out like that. But let's see if it gets it. Um, okay, so here it starts giving me like a decent information, and it even like creating like a table and stuff. So maybe what I have to do is like reprompt it. So maybe if I say here like no, give me no tables, structure it similarly to my notes, but in an organized manner with proper case briefs. Right. So if once we can work with this first part of the prompt, um, we just kind of start iterating until we get what we want. This is how I built my outline last year. Is like I would go and I would take each of my notes and I would copy and paste them into. I use Claude for this. I like Claude better. I'll explain why in a second, but I would just copy and paste them and then literally like paste them onto my outline. And then I would then go and read it all and make sure that the information was correct. Um, but I'll get more into it. I think my point here was just like I don't want to take in like all of my notes. I just want to use one at a time and then start, creating like my study material from that. Another something that other people do is, I mean, they just literally take their notes and they take what's important from it and they start. That's how they create their outline, which I think that's fine too. I just think AI kind of structures it in a way that's like it's just quicker. It's more understandable at times. Like sometimes you just write it like shorthand, and you might not even remember what you said or what you were thinking at the moment. So I think AI just outputs like a cleaner version. But okay, let's move on. Okay, so for outline structure, what I did, I mean, I like to have the cases, the statutes, the concepts, and I also like to include little examples, like little almost like issue spotter scenarios that could potentially come up on the exam. I learned very well by once I have read the case and I understand the concepts and the statutes, I need to see it. I need to see how it works in real life. So I'll always tell AI like, "Hey, give me a scenario on how this will work in real life." And then I could kind of wrap my head around a lot of the times, like you'll read a case and it'll just professors give cases in a way that like they always give you like really interesting cases that have weird nuances or have weird fact patterns. But when you go to read the exam, it's like a very simple fact pattern on something that's pretty practical. So I always like to see these examples to make sure that I am understanding the material and I can apply it when I have to write about it. So yeah, that's the same thing. So how they fit together and then small issue spotters. Okay, so to build with AI, kind of what I was doing earlier. So literally, what I would do, like what I did last year, is again, I would just go down the line and I would copy and paste like class one. Okay, class one, and then I'll open up like a Google Doc. So I would do class one. Oh, okay. I would summarize class one with AI. I would give it a prompt. Similar to this one, like, can you summarize all the rules, cases, and ideas below and create a comprehensive study material that includes rule cases? I'm gonna send an email out to the people that joined with a lot of these prompts in a prettier form, but it just depends. See, like here I think I had a no, it wasn't a property. Here I had a con law. I just had like a con law based prompt that I kept using. So I would do, okay, con law note one, con law note one, and then I would give it this prompt, and then I would take the output, and then I would paste it into the document, and it ends up looking. See if I have it. Um, okay, here's my one for business organizations last year. But see, so like it would be like, okay, agency law, and then it would output like all this information. It would have like key terms, examples, and it's basically how I prompted it. The way you prompt it is going to be very personal to you, because everybody kind of each class is different. Everybody thinks a different way, and so for me, I wanted to know, like we had a lot of different statutes, and a lot of different like restatement um, provisions in this class. So I had something in the prompt for that, and to give me like key terms or examples. And so literally, I would just these are my agency law notes. I put them through AI, and it output like how 4 pages. I'll copy and paste it on there. I would read them, make sure that it's correct, highlight things that are important, and then move on. And so then the next set of notes was partnerships, right? So then I would copy and paste all the partnership information. And I got an A in this class. It was like it's really not that um it's not rocket science. Like it's quite simple, but you just got to go about it the right way. Let's see, create and refine prompts. Yeah, I think the prompts are very important. I'm trying to think if I had any other. Yeah, see, so I used this one for my general outlines, this prompt, and then I had this one for con law because con law was I think I was struggling with it, but I ended up getting an A in it as well. So it worked out. Okay, let's talk AI models. So I think that I have a slide on that. Okay, no, I did not. Okay, so AI models. I last year I used Claude to make my outlines. So to get this output, like let's say if I give it, I'm literally gonna give the same prompt to Claude. I think Claude, there's a thing with AI models called temperature that is basically like how creative it is. It leads to more hallucinations, but it makes the writing better and like more understandable, usually, in my opinion. So here, I'm gonna give Claude. Sorry, I'm like scrolling on this. I'm just trying to get everything. I'm gonna give Claude the same prompt, and we'll see what it puts out. But I think Claude, what happens with Claude is that it has a lower temperature or higher. I forget if it's higher or lower what it does, but basically it's more creative. And I like that output more because it was easier. Like the issue spotters, like the examples that it gave me were better. And it was pretty accurate. It was accurate for the most part. Wow, this is pretty long. Okay. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna say no tables, just outline, copy, paste. So same prompt. I just reiterated the no tables because I don't think I got the second part of the. Oh, there you go. I got rid of that. That's all I had to do. Okay, see, so I think Claude is better to create an outline. Um, I mean, you be the judge. Like, I think ChatGPT, what it does is that it like over includes things and it tries to be too cute. Claude is more like no BS, like get it, like here's your A, basically. So I use Claude exclusively last year. So so then I would take this and I would paste it into my outline. ChatGPT, I like using ChatGPT. Their 5 model is actually pretty good, but I don't like using it for outlines. I like using it for if I want to ask it a lot of follow-up questions. I think ChatGPT ends up is more consistent, and it's faster a lot of times, and it doesn't have as many issues. Claude will have bugs sometimes, like it won't work, and I'll have to like, and you'll run out of like credits, and ChatGPT just works. It's like a reliable car. So. But you do have to I do feel like you have to prompt it a little bit more strictly to get the output that you want. But I think both are good. I think whichever one you choose, I recommend getting the paid version, like the $20 a month. I think it's worth it. I think the regular version is not good. I think seen different students say like, "Hey, look, do you think this is good?" And they'll show me the ChatGPT. I'll be like, "Wow, this answer sucks. Do you have the paid version?" They say no. So I think the answers are a lot better when you do have the paid version. Okay, Notebook LM. Um, so like to summarize, like the two large language models, I don't like Google. I tried Gemini. I've tried it when they get a new models. I've never liked it. Never has never given me what I need. So I use it for like to make like videos and pictures, but to make law school study information, Claude and ChatGPT are the best. Um, yeah, and for outlines specifically, I think Claude is the best. Notebook LM is different because it's not going to generate your study material, but it can do two things. The first thing is that it can answer a lot of questions that you have about whatever it is in your course. So, like, for example, I'll do a demo here in a second, but basically what it does is it has a technology called RAG, like retrieval augmented generation, which basically just means that it can store a lot of sources, like your all your notes, and you can ask it questions about it and it'll answer and it'll pull directly from your notes. So if you go through class and you're like, wow, I don't remember that case, like what case was about price fixing? You could load all your notes on here and you could ask it, it'll give you a good answer and it'll give you like the source where it's coming from. So I'll do a quick demo on like how I use it. I didn't use it for my final studying for this. There's another really cool tool on it that I'm going to show in a second. But like for example, let's say I'm gonna download. The other thing is that Notebook LM. I want to say it only takes PDFs. Don't quote me on this, but okay. So if I download my notes, I'm gonna download like a couple notes. So class one, class two. Let's download class three also. And in class three, we have this case called National or NCAA v. Alston. Okay, so I'm gonna load them into Notebook LM, and I'm gonna ask it about Alston just to see, like, just so you can see how it works. But for me, it wasn't really that great to create like study information. Claude was the best. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a new notebook. I'm gonna upload these three PDFs that I just two, three, and then I'm gonna say, antitrust. Okay. And so what I'm gonna ask now, I'm gonna say, what happened in the Alston case? And it'll give me an answer. So to be honest, I didn't use this at all to study for finals. But some people might, right? So it'll give me like a pretty brief answer. And it'll give me like, for example, here I can look back at my notes and see, okay, what is in my notes that made it answer like this? So I also put all the actual case text in my notes on LawBandit, like so I can do this, and for other reasons as well, but I'm not really gonna go. That's more just like note taking stuff. Um, what Notebook LM is the best at is this. It has this podcast creator, so you do an audio overview, and then it'll generate it. It takes a couple minutes, maybe like 5, 10 minutes, and then it'll be like a pretty good podcast explaining what is in your notes. I use this, like I would literally listen to this at the gym, walking to class, driving home, all the time, and just drilling like those concepts in my head. So I think that's where Notebook LM really shines. We actually, LawBandit has a app that does the same thing, but it's prompted for law school. It's still in beta. I think the voice for Google is better right now, but I think we're gonna get the voice down pretty quickly, and I mean we'll let everybody know once it's like fully like legit. But right now, I think Notebook LM is really good. I see some stuff in the chat. Is it good at flashcards? I've never used flashcards on. I only use LawBandit for flashcards. Uh, Shameless plug, but I never used it for flashcards. I mean, we could try. I'm not sure. I've never used it. But I've used it for audio. It's pretty good. It does a video one, but it tends to be inaccurate, so I wouldn't trust it. Um, I think like the flashcards, the quiz. I think I never tried them. Like I tried them a couple times just to like test them, but I think Law Bandit does a better job because it's specifically for law school. Okay, the last thing. So we have this feature on Law Bandit where after you take your notes. So I take all my notes on this app. Like literally all of my notes from every class I've taken are on here. But I added this feature because I was trying to like recap a lot of my classes and possibly copy and paste them into my outlines. So I added this feature. It's called summary. And what it does is it creates, I put like some very good prompts on the back end that take a lot of important information from the notes, and it creates like an outline. So, everything that I just went over, like you can literally just like copy and paste it from here and then paste it in without having to like figure out the prompting and whatnot. And you could also, when you do summary, you can prompt it yourself. So you could put a custom prompt. So if you like, let's say, what case this is? Let's say Jefferson. Let's say I wanted to focus on Jefferson Parish. I could say focus on Jefferson Parish, and it'll do that. It takes a couple of minutes because the prompting is like very elaborate, and there's a lot of processes going on. So it's not just like taking the high level information. But yeah, so that's an option as well. Um, what else? Okay, let me go back because I want to get into issue spotting. All right, this app or the slide looks a little different when we made it, but I think practicing issue spotters is the single most important thing that any law student can do to score better on their exams. And the reason for that is most exams, at UM, I had two multiple choice exams, but everything else was an issue spotter exam. And there's just something about an issue spotter exam where you like feel like you have 4 hours, but you feel like you have 15 minutes to write it. So I think practicing these exams is the most important thing. Like it's more important than having an outline, more important than taking good notes. Like if you practice issue spotters, you will realize what you know, what you don't know, and you'll get a really good feel. You're still gonna feel pretty bad going into the exam. Like you're not gonna feel like you're gonna score an A on every exam, but you're gonna feel more prepared to tackle the type of writing that you need to score well. So to practice them again, I'm gonna plug us because we literally made this feature just for issue spotters. We have this we have this feature. It takes a couple minutes. I'm not gonna do one, but it's called if you go to any class and you go to any note, you can go to your study room and you can create an issue spotter based on any of your notes. And you could also prompt it, but it'll create like a pretty legit issue spotter, and it'll grade it too, right? So it'll give you like a very good one. It could also take in your professor's like if you have like a example from a professor, you can upload it and it'll write it in the same way. But it's like a pretty good, you know, issue spotter scenario. It'll highlight what you did right, what you did wrong, based on your notes only, and it'll make like a little rubric and everything to see like where you missed. So this is my favorite feature. I'm excited to. We improved it a lot since we started. It used to be like not as good, but this is really good. I'm excited. I'm gonna start using it here in a couple weeks for all my classes, and I this helped me the most out of anything in law school was just practicing this. And your legal writing will get better as well, because I mean it's the same thing. If you go work for a judge, you go work at a law firm, you're gonna be writing an IRAC in a certain sense. I was at a firm this past summer, and that's how I had to write my memos to the partners. Um, okay, so tools. Okay, so I went over the tools. Okay, so I mean, to summarize my spiel, like your good notes are the foundation for anything in law school. So like if you're going to class and you're taking good notes and you're paying attention, you will probably be okay. Um, AI is going to speed up your studying process. I can go into a class like having not understood the material that well, quickly researching it with AI and getting up to speed on it. I have a class for my antitrust class. The professor goes super fast, and like a lot of times I feel lost, but I end up understanding it better once I use AI and like ask questions that I wish I could ask him, but I can't ask him because he goes so fast in class. Like I could ask those to AI. AI is like it's like the professor that's always there. A lot of times in class, like you want to ask questions, but you're gonna have follow-up questions. So yeah, I mean, you should like use AI. Use AI for like ask it every question. I think the models now are good enough where they're going to be accurate like 99% of the time. And a lot of the law school classes are not very niche. There's not like any niche law that you're looking at. Like antitrust is antitrust. There's a lot of information on the internet about it. Torts, contracts, especially 1L courses. Like there's so much information out there on the internet that the AI model's trained on that it's probably going to be correct. You can like rely on it quite. I rely on it 100%. Like I took everything that AI said as Bible last year, and I did just fine. And studying through repetition and application, like the issue spotters are super important. I used to play baseball, and one of the biggest things when you practice was that like to get better, you didn't want to just practice like in a very low stake setting where like you're just like I don't know if you guys know what a tee is, but like, you're just hitting off the tee. It's like a very controlled setting. The best way to practice in sports is through actually playing. But there's a lot of higher stakes in a game. So what you can do is practice like how you would in the game. So like in baseball, like we would play practice games or we would hit off the machine that's more real, is more realistic. So if you practice using actual issue spotters and you time yourself, you're gonna get better results because those are like the game reps that you are getting before the actual game, which is the exam. Um, The last thing, I have a surprise for everybody. So, Manuel and I, our senior programmer, we've been working on a feature with for LawBandit that takes all your notes. Like if you take your notes on LawBandit or you upload them and you have them on here, it literally creates an outline. We spent a couple weeks making this, and I can confidently say that it's better than any of the large language models because it's prompted better. And it also does multiple passes through your notes to make sure that it doesn't miss anything. It's not 100% gonna catch everything. Like I would still, I mean, I would still like make sure it has all the cases and all the concepts that you need from your syllabus, but it's pretty good. We've been testing it for the last few weeks, and like I made one from my antitrust class. So if I go here, it's gonna be here on the app. Like you go to outline beta and you click on it, and like you can choose all the notes. Like let's say you only want to include like the last, classes 3 to 15. You could do that. It also takes the interprets, which are the conversations that you have within LawBandit. You could select or, as much as you want, and you could also add your syllabus from your class, and it'll take that into account. Um, but I literally I tested it. It outputs it in Word. We're working on the output. It's not perfect, but it outputs it, and it's pretty damn good. Like this catches, this is 55 pages based on my first 15 classes of antitrust. And it has, I mean, it has all the topics and all the concepts. It has issue spotter scenarios as examples. It has all the cases, the statutes. They're color coded. So we're looking to get feedback on it. If you're studying for about to study for finals of year 1L, like make sure to check it out. But it's really good. I mean, I'm gonna be using this. I'm making this for myself, so if anything, like it's gonna help me out. But but yeah, I want to open it up for questions at the end. I hope that this was helpful. Wait, I don't. Am I still sharing my screen? I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to open it up for questions. For anybody that has any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. Whether it's like how do I study, you could either like raise your hand and speak or write through the chat. So I'll be here for the next 15, 20 minutes and listen in. Um, do I have a question for the outline? Could I do week one instead? Yes. So okay, so somebody asked for the outline, could I do week one, week two instead of class one, class two? Yes, I did that last year. It just ha so happens like my classes this year are not as week based, like they're very specific to the class. So I've been doing class by class. But yeah, definitely you could do week one, week two, and that'll be good. The most important thing is my topic and my concept, I would say, but can definitely do that. Alrighty, I'm gonna stick around for a few more minutes for questions. Yeah, okay, so I assume if you're a handwritten note taker, we would need to type the notes up on a consistent basis. Yeah, I seen so what I've seen note takers do to use AI, like they will take handwritten notes during class and then they'll translate what's important to their type notes. Um, I think you should have like type notes because especially a lot of law school exams are open book and you don't want to like you want to read like nice typed notes from your outline. You don't want to read like chicken scratch. Even if you have really nice handwriting, like you can only write so nicely when your professor's speaking a million words a minute. But I think, yeah, for handwritten note takers, like the best way you could do it is like take your notes and then at the end of class, like take what's important and do them. Okay, I forgot to mention this. There's a cool, like, ChatGPT is very good at voice. So maybe what you could do is like you can go on ChatGPT and just like read your notes. And I mean, it might take like a couple minutes, but it'll take everything. And then you could have it like, organize your notes from it. I actually had not thought about that, but there you go. No, no problem. All right, I'll stick around for a few more minutes. Do you have a prompt bank anywhere on LawBandit? I do not, but that's a cool feature request that I hadn't received. Maybe we'll make one. I think that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe we'll come up with a little like a prompt bank. We do have. I'm gonna send you guys. I have like a lot of prompts that are pretty good. So I'll send you the people that came on this call. Like I'll send them out to you through email. But that's a good idea. Maybe I'll look into that. I hadn't thought about that. Yes, yes. Again, if you were on here, you will receive a note bank and you will receive a recording of the call. Yep, no problem. Thanks for joining, Allison. Oh wait, oh it's DM. Yes, yes. Antitrust, one of my antitrust classmates is on here. We're suffering together. It's a very interesting class, so I'd recommend it for anybody that's interested. Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan. Thanks, Andreas. Awesome. Well, all right, guys. I am going to log off. So if there's any more questions, like type them in quickly. If not, I want to thank everybody that joined. This is the first time we did this. I think we'll do it again. Maybe I don't know. We'll do it again sometime. I'll try to find the time, but yeah, I'm very grateful that people are even on here because we've worked very hard. It's just two of us programming the whole app, and it's not easy while you're in law school, but it's been very rewarding, and I've learned a lot, and it's really cool to be able to connect with smart people that we'll know each other for a while, and the legal community is small, so we'll be in touch. But all right, everybody, I hope everybody has a good rest of the day. I am logging off, so thanks for joining. See you next time.